You cannot afford to miss a single moment of the next hour. Get ready to have your ideas about sexuality, love, and relationships blown wide open. It's time to get educated, entertained, and enlightened, as well as sexually empowered. You have now tuned into the Tantra Love, Sex, and Intimacy Show. Now, here's your host, Tanya Diamond.
Hello, everybody. Yes, it's me, and still with the strange voice as I'm navigating through pneumonia. But I tell you what, I am still incredibly sexy.
That's good. Good.
It is. Even like this, I'm still incredibly sexy, and looking forward to being even more so when the pneumonia is gone. So today I am excited about a number of things. Of course, maybe even pneumonia does not keep me from being excited. I have a bunch of coaching programs that I am whipping out here for you guys, and just burned through a bunch of audios that I'm about to put out. So things are just moving at Mach 1. I've taken on 3 assistants in my life because things are going so fast, though they prefer to be called my entourage. I really enjoy that, my entourage.
Use it. Why not?
That makes me feel like a rock star. Today it might be a little unusual. We don't know yet. Though I have a guest with a super fantastic name. It's so fantastic I actually remember it. Robin Marvel is on today, and we're going to have a great conversation about empowering, I think, our youth. So, hey, Robin, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Super fantastic, as I said. So,
Hey.
tell us about you, about what you do.
Actually, I wrote a book called Awakening Consciousness: A Girl's Guide, which is a workbook created to empower children and also older women. I've had a lot of all different ages, actually. It just encourages great exploration into universal awareness and self-growth and things like that. And I also offer a workshop called Chakra Side Your Spirit for kids when they're growing up, which encourages parents to bring their kids out and kickstart their chakras and get their energy going and really establish a sense of self-security in everybody. And that's really what I focus on.
And isn't that an amazing thing that we should actually get our kids involved in consciousness before they hit adulthood?
Oh, it is. It's so many people forget that that's where it all starts. And so I think it's really important that people realize how important these kids are, and teaching them when they're young is really going to build a great foundation for their future.
Well, we program them either way. And we can either program them for consciousness and greatness, or we can program them with all the other trash that they're programmed with.
Oh, I agree. And I actually homeschool. I have 4 daughters, and I actually homeschool them just for that, so that they miss out on all of that negative programming, and I can focus them on a conscious lifestyle.
So so this is a workbook. This book it's a book and a workbook, and any age.
It is any age.
So.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just 5 to 90.
Actually, I think parents can work with their children as young as 2, as long as they're old, as soon as they're old enough to understand themselves a little bit. I have a 2-year-old, and we do some of the activities. Obviously, not all of them we can do, but she can do all the chakra sizes, and I help her do like the mindful meditation and things like that. So I think from 2 to 102, it doesn't matter. Is wherever you're at on your path of awareness, you can learn and grow from this book.
So can you give us a couple of examples of what we might find if we whipped open a page?
If you open it up, there's so many different things. There's attitude of gratitude, which really focuses on being thankful for what's in your life and appreciating it, which I think a lot of times we forget to do. There's also loving yourself. Basically, it's called in the book, the chapter is called Say Hello to Yourself. And I think it's probably the most important chapter because it really creates, when you're young or even when you're older, a lot of people lack self-esteem. A lot of girls especially, they're programmed, like you had said earlier, to believe a certain way and act a certain way. And with this book, they're able to see themselves for their true being. They're able to say, oh, okay, I love myself, and I love this about myself. And even if I'm not like everybody else, it's okay. It's okay to be different. It's okay to grow my own way and walk my own path.
So are there exercises, or give me a little bit more in depth.
They are. What happens is, like in this chapter 12, it says say hello to yourself, and it says you are what you think you are. And then there's 2 paragraphs that talk about what do you think of yourself, and then at the bottom it gives you 3 affirmations that will to practice every day, hang them on your mirror or whatever. Like, I love myself, I'm beautiful and confident. And then on the following page, there's like a lined paper, and it says my affirmations, where you can write about different parts of you that you need to work on. So there's like a paragraph of like an explanation of what the chapter is, and then there's exercises. There are actually exercises for people to draw their auras. There's a section on auras where they can draw their auras. There's a section on crystals. There's a section on like the pendulum, and it teaches different exercises you can do with the pendulum. And so it definitely is interactive, where people write and really journal what they're learning and where they're at.
That sounds really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing one.
Yes, I know. I need to get you one, definitely.
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and understand she would be quite excited about that. And so tell me, how did this come about? I mean, you have 4 daughters, but was this created after your daughters were born, or this is something you've been thinking about for a while?
It actually is stemmed from my daughters, because I decided to homeschool them, and I wanted something to teach them the metaphysical principles that are in it, like the auras and the pendulum and things like that, where they could see the vastness of the world, because we live in a very small town. I mean, our population's like 364.
Wow.
It's really small, really closed-minded, really one way, that's it, period. You don't step outside the lines. And I didn't want them to feel that was the only thing out there. So I sat on my computer and I searched for days, and I said, I cannot find anything that helps them like actually work through it and learn it and write what they're feeling. And I said, you know what, I'm going to write it. And so I contacted my publisher, which is Victor Volkman of Loving Healing Press out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I said, this is my idea. And he said, okay, well, send me what you're thinking. And we worked together and we built it to what it became. And I'm really excited about it because it's really had good feedback. So
that's excellent. Have you published something before?
No, this was the first thing. This was the first thing I published.
Okay. Excellent. So so in this, you've got metaphysical confidence, building self-esteem. How do you address sexuality at all?
I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't.
And so of course, and we're here, we can talk about this.
Right.
So in your next one, in volume 2.
Yes. Well, actually, the boys' guide's going to be out the end of spring, beginning of summer, somewhere around in there.
Yes, of course, include the boys, because we've got to have the two parties both on board at the same thing to have really great lives.
Definitely, I agree.
We want the men empowered as well. And so what is your take on how have you had the sex talk or sexual self-esteem talk with your kids?
I have a 12-year-old, and so I feel like we need to be open about her relationships that are going to happen in the future, because I want her to be strong and confident and choose. When she's ready, I want her to be the one choosing. I don't want her thinking she has to. And we really, we do talk about it a lot, and just the fact of that I teach her to be very strong and true to herself, because I think that's the most important, to lay down a foundation now so she's not that low self-esteem girl who's just craving attention. And that was another factor of the book. I was that girl in high school.
Okay.
And I ended up having a kid when I was 17, which is my 12-year-old.
Okay. Yeah, because you sound young.
Right. Thank you. And so that was really that. So I think that's really important, because I didn't get to hear that. I didn't get to hear. Not that I'm saying I'm not blaming or anything like that. Right. I'm just saying I didn't know those. So I think it's really important to teach your girls to be self-secure, because so many of them aren't.
Well, and I recently on Facebook got slammed. I got some hate mail from somebody because I used the word naked. I said to somebody, "Hey, I think we're just bantering back and forth about pictures," and I said, you got to show something more naked. Oh. And this woman just came apart about, oh my gosh, don't you know kids are looking at Facebook and going crazy with this. The word is nude, not naked. And I'm thinking, okay, wait, whoa, just chill out. And she said, my whole, Facebook and teaching women about sex and men was all about perpetuating 13-year-olds to go out and somehow seek other joy than innocent joy. Mm. And I was trying to explain to her that basically what we're suffering from is ignorance and lack of education.
Yeah.
It's been proven that if you educate your kids about sexuality, it doesn't empower them to go out and do sex any more than if you don't.
No, it teaches them to be smart when they do decide to do it.
It's going to happen.
Right.
You know, this is what people are forgetting.
I agree, and that's what, I really talk it out with my older daughter, Emily, and I say, just you have to be sure. I just think girls, I watch the girls in her grade, because she went to public school till 6th grade, and she's got a lot of friends, and I watch them, and I just think that is so sad. It's so sad that no one's saying to them, you know what, you're in charge, you're in control of who you are, and the decisions you make, they're yours, no matter what. And be true to you. Don't do it because you want the attention, because I can see myself in them, I think, is why, of when I was young. And I just think, I agree with you. I think that it's ignorance. It's just people are so worried if they mention sex to their kids are going to run right out and do it. And
well, and what I say is, like, my daughter's 5, and my daughter, she grew up on an animal rescue farm, so she understood mating, that the animals mated and they had babies. She didn't understand more than that, but she understood pregnancy and, where the baby comes from in the pregnancy, and, about her yoni, which is what we use the word vagina, and men's penises, and all of these types of things. She's down with it all. That's not a problem. And just recently she said, so Mama, how do they, what happens when they mate? And so I was very just matter of fact, honey, the boy sticks, the man, animal, or what are we were talking about? I think we were talking about animals at the point. Puts his penis inside the yoni, delivers the sperm, which goes up to the egg, just whatever, right? She's like, right. She goes, okay. And she goes off to think about that. She's 5, and people would freak out that she had that information.
Well, I think it's important, and just like my children, like I said, we have 4 daughters, and we have always taken them with us to all my doctor's appointments. They're there when the baby's delivered. Actually, my oldest daughter cut my 3rd daughter's umbilical cord, and then my 2nd oldest daughter cut my 4th daughter's umbilical cord.
How cool is that?
It is. It's amazing, because the bond between our family is just amazing. And I always tell my oldest daughter, too, when we're talking about, her sexuality stuff, I say, it's not something that's gross or something you should be scared of or anything like that. It's a beautiful thing that happens when you're, when you're ready.
Right.
That's my main focus. It's just, it's up to you. It's not.
So yeah, because we can't determine that. I mean, what's happening with parents is parents are scared. Parents are embarrassed of their own sexuality and their own body and their own feelings. And so they're afraid to talk to their kids. They don't know what to say. And here's the basic, this is it. All of us as humans were designed to have sex. I know that's going to freak a lot of people out here that I'm saying that. Our evolutionary drive is to procreate. Okay, wake up, everybody. That happens in puberty at the most intense level that it can. So you've got all these kids, barely teenagers, in the full flood of complete hormonal maniac to procreate, but we don't die in our 20s anymore, in our 25, so we're not procreating anymore at 12, 13, 14, right? Mm-hmm. At least, we're hoping not. Some are. But nobody's equipped. And so you're getting these teen pregnancies and STDs and lots of hurt emotions and physical pain. Instead of sitting down and saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And you feel like you're going to die if you don't have sex. I mean, can some of us remember that? Because, I sure can.
I think it's very important to teach them. I know I've said that before, but I do. I think that being open, and it is a fact of life, and it's nothing that's just, nothing wrong. That's what I try and tell my daughter. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. I mean, how could it be wrong? I mean, it's the whole reason we're actually...
Exactly. I say just be true to you, and when you're ready, do it for the right reasons. Don't do it because, a boy tells you
that you're cute.
He's going to die if he doesn't.
Yeah, or you're cute. Well, and so last time I said this, I got a caller in saying, are you advocating 13-year-olds have sex? No, I'll say that again. No, I'm not advocating that teens have sex. I'm not advocating that 20s or 30s or 40 people have sex. I'm not advocating that. What I'm saying is I'm advocating education.
Yep, I agree. That's exactly the way I feel about it, too. If they know, then they're going to be smarter and they're going to make better decisions, and you're going to get less teen pregnancies, and you're going to get less, disease.
All of that. And so, so that education starts early. It starts when they start asking questions like, you've had them at doctor's appointments, that type of thing. Get some books out. People keep waiting till their kids are like 8, 9, 12. It's too late, people. They're getting educated in the kindergarten. They're getting educated in first grade by somebody else that has erroneous information.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
And so we've got to start. And I think that's part of self-esteem.
Yeah, I do too. I definitely do. I think a lot of these girls that are abusing sexual relationships, and males too don't have a strong foundation, and they aren't true to who they are. And that's what I was saying about my daughter's friends. I mean, they're posting messages on their MySpace that are, just craving attention, just like somebody noticed me, and they don't have that self-esteem at all. They're lacking, and that's why they do things like that. And
so then, and as far as boys too, and boys, I mean, that's really sad, because what we tell boys is we kind of say it's okay. Mm-hmm. You've got these feelings, that's great. Some parents will say, just keep it in your pants. Other parents are saying, well, you're a boy, you go out and get you some. Yeah. So where's the empowerment on either end here? Everybody's confused, and they end up later in on my couch, so to speak, talking to me, what went wrong, what's going on, what's happening here. So building self-esteem, because I do believe that when you're in that hormonal flow and you don't know what to do with it, you tend to make your own sexual arousal somebody else's responsibility, which is what you're hearing with boys saying, I'm just going to die if you don't do this.
Yeah.
Being turned on is like all of a sudden somebody else's responsibility. And that's part of, I think, of empowering kids to understand that their sexual energy is theirs.
Yeah, and they also need to know that they have to take responsibility for it. So many people, especially I'm just speaking from experience in my own town, so many people, it's easier just to sweep it under the rug. That doesn't happen here. People don't do that until you have a sixth grader who's pregnant. Yeah. And then they're like, her parents are so horrible. They're not Christian. They're horrible, whatever. And they need to realize that, their children are doing the same thing. They're just keeping it hidden. And so they just need to really teach them to respect themselves and take responsibility for all of their actions. And like I said, education, these kids need to know. It's such a taboo thing for sex ed in schools anymore. And I think, are you kidding me? I was in third grade when I had my first one, and maybe I should have paid more attention, but people need that. Kids need that. They need that to grow up and be productive, successful adults and know that it's okay, but just to be smart.
Well, they still need their parents more, because we are, the other thing we're doing is we're role modeling sexless marriages in the United States, especially. Right. You might have heard I've said there's 40 million sexless couples in the U.S., and I'm not advocating, once again, that people have sex in front of their kids. I'm saying that, if the kids don't understand that the parents' sexuality is a normal part of their relationship, then they grow up thinking that once you're married, so Hollywood glorifies all this sex happening everywhere as single, but then once you're married, then that's not supposed to happen. Right. There's no role modeling for that. So we have a lot of just really messed up stuff happening right now, and I'm really hoping, of course, my mission is to eradicate sexual spiritual ignorance in the world. That's a big mission.
That is. Good for you.
Thank you. It's a mission, and I'm up for it now that I've got my entourage.
Yeah, now you're geared to go.
That's right. And so tell me, because, women's bodies, this is like the number one issue. I've got these beautiful women that come into my office that would, qualify as bathing suit models who don't feel attractive.
Right.
So what do you, in your book, I love my body. What type of, where do you see, how can we, because just saying I love your body, how do we help girls understand that what we're seeing in the media isn't necessarily what we're shooting for? Talk to me more about that.
I think that you have to start when they're at a young age, as young as possible, where they can understand loving themselves, because I think I really feel that a lot of self-esteem issues are stemmed from not loving yourself, because you're always compared. There is the TV and there is the magazines, and parents, guardians, whoever, need to make sure to point out to these little girls that you are beautiful. It doesn't matter, if you have a big nose or whatever the situation might be. You really have to affirm to them that they're beautiful, and you have to live it yourself too. You can't say to your daughter, you don't need to be like the people in the magazines. You need to be true to yourself and love yourself, and then turn around and be on a diet 6 days a week of starving yourself.
Right.
You really have to set a good example. And I think that, like in my book, the exercises in there, they're so, it's such a good time for girls, like when they're younger, like I'm saying, like 2, 3, and such, to program themselves into that, because they're missing it. And then by the time they're in sixth grade, they're like,
it's too late.
Well, I'm fat. And,
it's too late. Yeah.
And it just sickens me. I cannot believe that my daughter's friends will come over and say, oh, I'm going to Weight Watchers. I'm like, you're what? You're in 6th grade. Oh, my parents paid me $100 if I don't drink pop all summer. Why? That's just sending a message to them that they're not good enough. And there's enough things out there that they're going to face that they need their parents making them feel like they're not good enough when they're little kids. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that that's a lot with probably these women coming into your office, is that they never had that foundation. You know, they never had somebody tell them, you're beautiful, you're who you are, you know, love yourself.
Well, certainly not. I mean, most people don't get that. They think it's that cliche, love yourself type of thing. I think that, I look at my daughter, I spend time naked in front of her. I don't have the supermodel body. And she'll walk up to me and, I've never used the word fat. I've never used the word chubby around her. I don't describe people in that manner. That's just not what I do. And yet she has the lingo.
Right.
Now, so obviously it's out there. She's getting that information. She said to me one day, oh, Mama, you see that woman over there is really fat. And, I said to her, honey, do you notice, look around you. Everybody comes in a different shape and size.
Yeah.
And she kind of looks around and she goes, wow, kind of like, well, you're right, Mama. Everybody's different. And I said, well, that's right. And I said, that is part of the beauty and texture of the world, is that everybody's different.
Right. And everyone needs to be true to who they are. And that's a lot of the basis of the book. I know I might have mentioned that before, but it really is because I want these girls to not be me in high school per se. I don't want them to crave the attention, and I want them to be so secure in their own that they're like, I don't care what the normal is. I don't want to be the normal. I want to be my own. And I know that's not always easy in a school environment, but if they're taught it from a young age, then by the time they're 12, then they are so secure that they're like, whatever, my daughter's not freaking out because she has a blemish on her skin or something.
Right.
Her friends, they're like posting it and freaking out and crying, and my daughter's like, why?
Get over yourself already.
Yeah,
it's not that traumatic.
It's not. It's part of life, so get on with your life. There's more important things to worry about.
But isn't it just not, and it's not even necessarily what we tell our kids, because, there's plenty of parents there that tell their kids they're beautiful, that type of thing. But more importantly, I think when you hit it on the head is, what are we role modeling?
Right.
Because frequently what we say and what we do, if they don't line up, kids go with what we do.
Yeah, and it's amazing at how much they pick up on.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You're standing in front of the mirror getting ready, and you get this look on your face like, ugh. They see that.
Yep.
They're looking at you. And in your kids' eyes, you are amazing.
Right. They see no fault.
Yeah. When that's beautiful. They're just amazing. They think about that, and they watch what you do. They watch if you fuss with your clothes. They watch if you're constantly, if you go on and you're looking at your butt in disgust and all of that.
Yeah.
They get that. And if you're talking to your friends about, the next diet, we talk about, eating healthy in our family. I went raw vegan not that long ago. And so.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, thanks. And we talk about, eating healthy, but, food has never been an issue. I don't care. Eat it, don't eat it. Doesn't really matter.
Right.
No big deal. Your body will tell you whether you're hungry or not. Just a non-issue. And, being strong is her big thing. She's actually a really amazing swimmer at her age.
Wow.
And she says, I want to be strong. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's the way to do it. And, that she's beautiful and that she's smart and that she's funny and that she's an amazing human being just like she is.
Right, yeah.
And, and I tell, her yoni's beautiful, her bottom's beautiful, every part, she's gone through the whole, from their toes to her nose.
Yeah. That's important. It really is. It's important to show them that and tell them that.
And a lot of people will say something like, well, honey, your face is so beautiful, but you got the, whoever's thighs. Oh, it's too bad you got grandma's thighs.
Yeah, I have heard that before.
I know. That'll devastate a woman for eternity.
Yeah, it's true. And that is true. Even the slightest little comment can put a major imprint on the rest of their life. And that's why I think all these parents dieting and, it's like life is so precious. Every second that you get, just relish in it and be thankful that you have it. And don't focus on anything that you find as an imperfection, because really there aren't any imperfections unless you decide there are.
Right. And I love your gratitude thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talking about if we actually have gratitude for what we have. So speak to that a little bit, if you would.
I always say I live in a state of gratitude because I think no matter where you're at in your life or what's going on, you can be in the most stressful, traumatic situation, and you can find something to be grateful for, even if it's as small as the wind blowing outside, you know, and drying your clothes on the clothesline. You can find something to be grateful for, and you can. To me, it is very difficult to be in a state of gratitude and angry at the same time.
Yep.
So I often use this with myself, with my children. When you're angry, find something to be thankful for, and that anger is just going to dissipate. It's not going to be there anymore.
Well, sometimes I'm really grateful for how angry I am. It's a little bit of a different reframe. It's like, I am so grateful that I contain this anger. And, of course, you know, that gives it a different charge altogether there. It's like being grateful for being sick when people are like, how are you? I'm great. My body, it's a little challenged, but
right.
Grateful it's working. You know, it's working on its immune system.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for, I mean, you know, we my daughter and I, every morning, we wake up and we talk about, we have our grateful moments.
Yeah, see, that's a great idea.
What are you grateful for, honey? You know, she has funny things she's grateful for. She's 5. The other day she was, what did she say that was so funny? She was grateful that she was able to get up this morning and go down and look at her ant farm.
Oh.
You know, she's got an ant farm.
Sweet.
I know.
That's what I'm talking about. Just the simple things like that, you know, and you learn so much through your children, and just they're grateful for every little thing. I mean, my 2-year-old, she's grateful for Curious George fruit snack. I mean,
there we go.
She's like jumping up and down for it, like it's the best thing she's ever seen in her life. And I'm like, how can you miss out on that by worrying about, you know, silly things? It seems like
that your toes aren't quite the right size.
Right.
Yeah. We're gonna take a moment here. I'll give Gary a second. Take a moment and take a little break, Robin. And we'll be back in just a few moments for more self-esteem and feeling great about ourselves.
This is Dr. Wayne Dyer, and you're listening to Contact Radio.
Are you one of the 40 million sexless couples in the U.S.? Are you wondering why having sex leaves you feeling lonely? Are you suffering from the myths of sexual dysfunction? Do you know in your heart that there has to be more than what you're currently getting out of making love? To rid yourself of sexual ignorance, get more out of your lovemaking, and find out more about spiritual sexual connection, then you need to check out www.thetantrateacher.com to receive your free copy of the ebook called Secrets of the Tantra Teacher. Don't suffer another minute without the sexual loving and ecstatic bliss you were born to receive. Get to www.thetantrateacher.com right now. That's www.thetantrateacher.com.
ContactTalkRadio.com. Making choices? Choose CTR Networks as your source for soulful information.
Is your sex life non-existent? Do sexual dysfunctions leave you soft? Is internet porn getting more than you are? Or are you paying more attention to porn than your partner? Have you tried talk therapy and it got you nowhere? You are not alone. You can be freed from sexual shame, guilt, and dissatisfaction. A visit to the Tantra Teacher is in order. Call now and mention you heard the Tantra Teacher on the radio and get a very special offer. Stop waiting for a miracle and call right now, 206-276-2735. Phone consultations or in person will get you the information you need to be successful in your love life. But you have to call now, 206-276-2735. Stop making excuses. Call the Tantra Teacher, 206-276-2735.
Hi, this is Carolyn Mace, and you're listening to Contact Talk Radio.
Now is your chance to be part of the show. Call 877-230-3062. Call in with your questions or thoughts and talk with the host and their guest. Again, that number is 877-230-3062.
And we are back. Tantra, Love, Sex, and Intimacy show. We've got Robin Marvel on the line with me today, and we have been talking about a great workbook she has about raising consciousness in girls from all ages from 2 to 102, and a great workbook to do with your kids. And we're also talking about sexually empowering younger girls. And of course, I say sexually empowering younger girls, and everybody's going to freak out on me. And, you know, the reality is we have to sexually empower our youth if we expect them to make it through teenhood, where they're just exploding in hormones with their mental faculties intact and not being pregnant at such early ages. We need to give them the information and the tools in which to navigate that time of life that our entire evolutionary drive is telling us we must procreate now. So we need to get our heads out of the sand. Telling them not to do it is not working. Would you agree about that, Robin?
I do agree. It's not working.
Didn't work for you, right?
It didn't work for me. And actually, I didn't ever get the speech. I was kind of on my own.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's that, you know, not talking about it, right?
Right, yeah.
It doesn't help either.
I had the mom I had boys living at her house, staying at her house when I was 15. So
really,
yeah, it was really a very unstable environment. So, okay. I mean, looking back now, I can understand where I was at emotionally when I was going through all of that, and that's why I'm very determined to not let my daughters fall into that.
Well, you know, and we talked about, so you were pregnant at 17, and that you're saying to your daughters, what do you say to your daughter about that?
I tell her that I don't regret her. I love her with all my heart. She's one of my best friends. But I say it changed everything in my life. And I said, it's a lot of work. It's responsibility. I said, and it's, you know, it's sad that you have to be a grown-up so little. I said, you want to enjoy your life. Go out and do the things you want to do and go to colleges that you choose and, you know, get married first or whatever you want to do. But just having a kid young, it just really, how do I put this without, it just really hinders your opportunities.
Well, sure. I mean, it does. It gives you a completely different path.
Oh, it does.
I mean, there are opportunities that are not as open to you. Did you have support from your parents?
I did, actually. They were really nice, and Emily's dad and I are married now, and we have the 4 girls now. And so he was really great. He was actually 21 when I had her, and I was 17. And but anyways, we were both very young, and it was a long road, but we've come out of it. My parents were helpful as far as that goes. Like I went through my senior year. I had her August 20th, and my senior year started August 24th, and they tried to shove me in alternative ed, and I was like, that's not happening. I went through all these years with these people. I'm walking the stage.
Right.
And so I went through high school, and my mom helped watch her. And
excellent. Well, so you were actually really lucky in all of those accounts. I mean, you're with the father.
Yeah.
And your parents were there, and you got some opportunities. And you know, that's not how it happens for most.
It doesn't. And, you know, it's funny because I actually, some people in our family are young, and they were having a baby, and the grandmother was like, oh, my God, they need to kick her out of the house. And I stood up, and I said, are you kidding me? I said, do you know the emotional turmoil being a teen pregnant girl is? I mean, and then you're, like, hoping their parents kick her out of the house. I mean, what did she do? She just got caught. She's doing what everyone else was doing. She just got caught. Right. Maybe that's my outtake because I was a teen mother.
Right.
But I also am starting an organization, since we were talking about teen mothers, called With Gratitude, which what I'm going to do is I'm making the Awakening Consciousness of Pregnant Woman's Guide is in the works.
Nice.
And it's going to go along. I want to do baskets and maybe a little bit of self-esteem building for those teen girls that are pregnant and things like that. So. Well,
because I mean, once you're there, right?
Right. And I can relate. I really can. I know what it's like to stay up all night with a baby and go to school all day and work a waitress job at night, you know?
Right.
I've been there.
Well, that's amazing, and it sounds like it all pulled together for you, and I'm really, really thankful that you're there and wanting to create these products for people to have this kind of consciousness. And, hey, guess what? We have a caller, so hang on, and let's see what's happening here.
Okay.
We do have a caller.
Yay.
It's Jay up in Canada.
Hey, Jay. Can you hear us?
Jenny, how's it going?
Excellent. So what can we do for you?
I just got a good question for you. I just wondered about self-esteem issues in regards to women or kids. I just wondered, does it differ between different groups of ethnics? I just wondered if there's anything commonality between that.
If it's cultural?
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll both feel this one, but I'll say I grew up all over the world, and I would say that each culture comes with its own issues around self-esteem and sexual training, or even self-esteem. Some cultures have, some of the countries in Africa that I've lived in, there are no self-esteem issues that are, they're not poor. There's no poor self-esteem. The way they're raised in a community where they see everybody and they love everybody and they're less sheltered, and it's like you're accepted and loved from a great number of people. The self-esteem issues just are not what we have here.
Right. There's less expectations, I think, over there. There's more acceptance, and in many other cultures, the United States, I think a lot of stuff is everyone's trying to fit in.
Yeah, we're pretty media driven here, and our idea of beauty here is actually in the minority around the world.
Right.
So a lot of other places, larger people, normal people are considered revered for beauty. And there's countries where I'd be considered way too skinny to be sexy. Do you have an ethnic or a culture in mind, Jay?
No, just a general question. But I just wondered. It seems like the simpler life is actually you see more stuff, you experience more things versus our society, which is so, like I said, driven by so much media-driven stuff, and that's put into our heads that we don't have time to actually, sit down and think that is this right, what beauty is.
Right. Well, and I'll segue that into the porn industry in the U.S. that starts at a really early age now with computers. For boys especially, they're basically self-pleasuring to all these images that are very not real, and they're plugging in neural pathways, creating neural pathways in their brain to tell them that this is the ideal to be sexually excited by. And it's creating huge problems. I get calls from men all the time saying, wow, I really love the woman I'm with, and yet I really can't be totally satisfied with her because I keep having these images of this other thing that I want to attain, but I know that's not real, and this is what's real, and what's wrong with me. So, there are some of the problems that we're having. And in other countries, yes, they have nude beaches, and, there are people all shapes and sizes out there, no worries. And here, it's just the beautiful people. What do you say to that, Robin?
I agree. I think that in other cultures, people are way more accepting, and they're just basically, they don't have the trauma that the media puts out there. I call it trauma because I think it is trauma for a lot of people.
Thank you. Yeah.
And a lot of people are ridiculed, even starting as young as, little babies. Oh, that's a fat baby,
Right.
Things like that. It's like, are you serious?
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
It is, definitely.
I appreciate your call in, Jay.
Well, thank you much, Tanya, and many blessings.
Yeah, call again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, Robin, I know I'm hoping that we're going to be putting this on your website too. Is this going to be shocking to people that come listen to it?
Probably if people that know me or think they know me. And so it's not. I haven't ever done an interview like this, but I'm really glad I got the opportunity.
Well, I think it is such an integral part. I don't believe that sex is this thing out there on the side.
Right.
It's a huge component. It's the main component of our lives, and we somehow seem to avoid it, and especially in spirituality and all these things people will be talking about, empowerment and all of this stuff, and they don't touch this aspect.
Right.
And it's confounding to me, since really almost everything can be traced back. Low self-esteem, sexual problems. All this just keeps coming back, and I think we just need to get on this and start addressing this in a more real way. And you're great. You've got this whole, look at what the media is doing. We need more acceptance. Your girls, what do you think of the father's role plays in girls and how they deal with their future partners?
Oh, I think the father's very important. I think that my husband is really amazing because he is such a good example for them of respect and honor and love. I think that's really important for girls to see, because a lot of these little girls, just speaking from experience, of my daughter's friends, they come over and they're like, my parents fight all the time. My dad doesn't pay any attention to me. He's on the computer all the time. He doesn't talk to my mom, things like that. And I think that really damages their self-esteem, because then they're craving for even more attention. My dad was obsolete in my life.
Yeah.
And so I do think that had a lot to do with me wanting the attention, and I didn't care. It was just any kind of attention, more or less.
No, I'm with you on that. I mean, my dad traveled a tremendous amount, and it was interesting that I definitely was interested in the men's attention and what did that actually mean. And of course, my parents were not really. They were kind of forthcoming about sexuality, but not enough.
I don't ever remember my mom ever saying anything to me.
Yeah, it's ever. Just this mystery.
Right, but I remember being, she was really, really irresponsible. I'll just leave it at that.
Right. Well, you had said that, about having people over and that type of thing. And I think, the fathers need to understand that, especially in little girls' lives. I mean, fathers always think that their role is, there's a boy. How the little girl perceives her dad, loves her dad, sees his, like you said, that, the honor, respect he has for women really forms what it is she's looking for later on.
Oh, I agree 100% with that.
And it's so incredibly powerful. It's so important for men to realize that, your daughter is watching how you act with her mother or your ex or any woman that you're there. And the energetic charge that you hold of women. There's a lot of men out there, and I say this, there's heterosexual men, yes, want to have sex with women, but not heterosexual men don't always love all women.
Right.
And when that comes through, that sends a message to your girl children.
Definitely, and they need that strong basis from their dad. They do. They need to know that, there are good men out there who have respect and respect themselves enough to treat their wives or girlfriends, whatever, with respect. And they need to see that and know that. And
they want a man that's in integrity.
Right.
When their dad says something, you can take it to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
That is so, so important, because otherwise, and you've got, like you said, you got to pay attention to them. You have to see what they're up to in their lives and not just say, oh, well, they're girls, so,
Right. That's what's so amazing about my husband is he is so, one of my favorite things about him on the list is that he is just as invested in the kids as I am. Like, he plays with them and he talks to them and he takes them places and he sits on the computer with them and he helps me homeschool them, on the weekends. And I mean, he's amazing in that, and I'm so thankful, because I think that's going to be such a determining factor in their future. It's really going to weigh in when they decide to choose a mate.
Right. Well, yeah, it will, because, little girls are choosing a lot of the time their father. Mm-hmm. You can look back and say, if you're always picking those guys that are emotionally unavailable, you can look back and say, what did my father look like? Right. Are you picking men that, can't ever show up for anything, that treat you poorly? You look back and say, what was that like? So it is incredibly important. Men, I'm just telling you, get out there and really be part of your of both your kids, of course, your girl children's lives. They need to know that they're filled up from both parents. Right. And if you're single, and I am, I have good men role models around me. I have men that are my friends that are just amazing men that love my daughter. Right. And give her that positive attention from a good role model, so that she's not craving that attention from just anybody.
Yep, that's really going to be beneficial in her future.
And in your boys' book, same type of format? Is there anything in particular that's different with how you're dealing with boys and consciousness?
The boys' guide, there is a couple things different. There's a lot, like in the girls' guide, I touch on aromatherapy. In the boys' guide, I touch on some Native American traditions.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's turned out really, really excellent. And then but the boys, I think they're labeled so much in society. You can't cry. Don't show your emotions. Oh, yeah. Be tough all the time, and that creates a lot of aggressiveness and anger in them. And I've talked to a lot of parents to have boys, because I obviously don't have boys, so I did some research, and they would say that, their boys are so aggressive, like they get angry at the drop of a hat in there. So I touch on the aggression, but there is a lot of the self-love in there too. I try not to make it girly or mushy, but but I just want, people need to realize just because you have a boy doesn't mean that he can't pick up a Barbie doll and play with it, or that makes him whatever, and I went through that with my younger sister. She had a boy, and she just was so harsh on him, and now he's just completely burning things down. And
yeah, well, you're hitting on a big thing. Boys are actually more sensitive than girls are. They have a component. They have 5 times the startle reflex, first of all, when they're born than girls do, and they're far more sensitive. But they have no place in which to show it. And the worst thing in the world you can do to a little boy, especially as a mom, is tell him, quit crying, quit being a baby, quit doing that. Tell them how they feel. They fall down and hurt themselves, you hold them.
Exactly.
You don't tell them, get up off the ground, be a man, whatever. That's not the way to make men. Because I'm here to tell you that there are not a lot of men walking around anymore.
Right, I agree. And
there's a lot of watered down guys that are not sure. And the anger comes from grief and sadness that is unexpressed.
Right, yeah.
So this aggression that we're seeing is partly because, I was watching their parents with their little boy at the beach. And, if a little girl ran after a bunch of seagulls, chances are somebody would say, hey, honey, that's not, you don't want to scare the seagulls. For some reason, little boy is allowed to perpetuate way more destruction and violence, and people just go, oh, he's just a boy.
Right. I hear that all the time from my mom and my sister. Oh, he's just a boy. It's normal that he's steals.
Setting the house on fire. It's normally stealing. He's a boy. What do you want? What do you want from that?
I know, it's true, and they say that, and I'm like, are you serious? So I actually dedicated my next book to my nephew Colton, and I'm hoping that he realizes the choices that he's making and can snap out of the programming he's been done. But I think with boys, they're always taught to be number 1 too. They can't ever be number 2. You have to be at the top all the time. Sports, girls, games, whatever. If you lose, you're a failure. It's just beat into them from the time they're little boys. So,
well, I understand we want men to be men, and we want men to be warriors. But being a warrior actually comes from your heart, and it comes from a place of integrity. I think if you're going to train boys to do anything, what you really want to train them to is to be rock solid in their word and their purpose.
Yes, that is a great statement.
Right? Rock solid in their integrity. As women, we want men that when they say something, we can take it to the bank.
Right.
And that their sense of purpose in their life is so strong that we can dance in the feminine around them. Because of that. That doesn't mean you have to be macho. It doesn't mean you have to be mean. It doesn't mean you can't cry. None of these things have anything to do with it. Right. And, when that little boy is crying and he needs to be held, the first woman he ever loves is his mother. And if his mother lets him down and is disappointed in him, he carries the wounding of that disappointment for the rest of his life.
That is definitely true. And you see it throughout his life and his actions.
Yep. That somehow he's never going to be good enough. He's always going to be a disappointment. Yep. And he will fear, at the core, he will fear women. Ladies, when you're talking and your sons are watching, remember the first woman they ever hear lie is you. And if, in such little ways like saying, oh, I'm sorry, we can't we're already busy, we can't get to your party. Boys are so, they're so literal that when they see their moms do that, they feel like there's no trust. The mom has 2 faces. And that represents then that women have 2 faces. And if a woman's saying one thing to you, she might be meaning something else. And this stuff is completely profound, and it models how they walk back into the world with women later on.
Right. Yep.
So, and boys, do they need to know about sex at an early age too?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because
definitely
they're going to be dating your daughters.
Right, exactly.
So what would you like little boys to know about sex?
I think that little boys need to also do the self-esteem. I think that that's really important. I think they need to know to be responsible for their actions, because it's always, oh, the girl gets pregnant, the girl gets pregnant. No, the girl and the boy get pregnant. She didn't do it alone.
Right.
So why should he be off the hook out partying it up while she's sitting at home, nursing a baby? I think that that's important. And I think a lot of times people are like, oh, he's just a guy. I see it all the time. Oh, it's the guy, so it's okay if he's out and she's home alone taking care of the baby.
Well, yeah, that's kind of saying that basically men are not responsible.
Exactly. They're not taking, a lot of times they can skate out of that responsibility. More and more relationships that I see just in my own town, because we're so small, you see a lot of stuff and hear a lot of stuff. The women are the ones who are taking care of the kids, and the husband's the one doing whatever he wants. And, I've seen a lot of marriages fall apart from that, from the selfishness of the husband, and as far as the kids go and taking care of them. And I think it comes down to taking responsibility for your actions, even learning about sex at a young age.
Well, sure, because the boys shouldn't be told that, this is what you're supposed to do. It's, treating women with respect. It's understanding that your sexual arousal is yours to own, and that, you need to, even as a man or as a boy or as a teenager, whatever, you need to think about the fact that, who do you want to share your energy with? It's got to be the same as girls.
Right.
Who do you want to share your energy with? Because in the long run, later on, men are coming to me saying, I just feel so hollow about all this sexual interaction that I've had. The media hypes it. It's all great, but I'm somehow still feeling hollow, like there's something to be more than this. And there is more to all this expression of sexuality, and it's about honoring each other. And that's what you're teaching kids, how to honor each other, how to respect each other, how to empower each other to make choices that are great.
Right.
I was 17 the first time I had sex, and I was actually too young. I mean, emotionally.
Right.
My sister was 14. And it pains me to say this, but she somehow had a better sense of self-worth and esteem, and had been dating this at 14, dating this boy for a while, and actually had a much better, much healthier expression and experience than I ever did. And I'm not advocating 14. I'm going to say that right now. I'm not advocating 14. But what I'm saying is that her experience and how she made the decisions were much better for her than mine. And I think she was just more full in some areas than I was.
Yeah, I think it just depends on where you're emotionally ready at and what you're prepared for. And that is what I teach my daughter. I teach her. I'm like, it's going to happen. It's not like it's never going to happen. It's just going to happen. So I said, just like I mentioned before, just be ready for it and be prepared and do it because you want to.
Don't just fall into it. We've just got a couple of minutes left here, Robin.
Oh.
Do you have a website?
I do. It's www.aurasenseguide.com.
Can you spell that for us?
It's AuraSenseguide.
Okay, and I'll have that on my site as well. And the name of your book again, please.
Awakening Consciousness, A Girl's Guide.
Yeah, and that's girls from 2 to 102.
Yes, definitely.
We can all use some awakening. I say we get the book and check it out. Your boy's book is coming out?
It is. Yeah.
And when will that be out?
I think that will be out probably summertime, I'm thinking.
Excellent. You're just going to keep going with this because then you got the pregnancy and the whole works.
I am, and I'm also writing a book called Metaphysical Mind in a Small Town.
Yeah,
and
we need to hear that one.
that's going to be a really good one too. So excellent. I'm going to keep going and keep expanding.
Well, we'll be talking to you again. Thank you so much for being courageous and coming on here and talking about these topics that definitely need to be talked about.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate talking to you. It was great.
I've enjoyed you very much. And everybody, you need to get to my website. If you are not signed up on my email list, you need to be signed up on my email list. You can go to learningtantra.com and do that because there's all sorts of goodies for you. I'm in the midst of huge things happening, and you want to be on board right now with this. Between the personal coaching and the Inner Circle program and my workshops that are blasting off. And next year, I'm going to take 12 events, one a month all around the United States. I'm going to resurrect sexless marriage in the United States. Not resurrect that, get rid of sexless marriage in the United States. That's what I'm doing. And I'm all about it. Robin, take care. You guys, I'll see you next week at 6 p.m. on a Thursday. And we're back.
You have been listening to the Tantra Love, Sex, and Intimacy Show with your host, Tanya Diamond. Don't miss next week's show at Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, visit our website at www.tanyadiamond.com. That's TANJA for more information on workshops and classes.